Okay, everyone, this is very exciting because this course, this experience, this process is filled with videos. It's filled with the voices of the community members we have engaged with. And behind all of those videos has been this wonderful human being here. So it's really exciting to have you in front of the camera with us.
I'm so excited to be here.
And so Shane and I,
Gail
Gaelic
Kessler.
Kessler. Shane and I have been through a deep process of learning together as two non-Indigenous community members of the North Island.
Did you just say it's been 3 years?
It's been 3 years. We've been working.
Where does time go? That's
There's
amazing.
not enough of it, though.
Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
And when I first contacted you about this project, you said, "What is this about? What is the plan?" And I said, "I don't know, and I don't have a plan." And
Perfect.
we're gonna
Yeah.
figure this out together.
And we still don't know.
We still don't know, and we still don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And I want to hear a little bit from you about what because we have worked together to do all these interviews,
Yeah.
and now it's this opportunity to flip the script. And I want to
Yeah.
know what it was like from your experience to step into a different way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, do you remember who our first interview was? I forget.
It was Fernanda.
Fernanda. So, yeah. So here I am. I think I was I had all my stuff, and we went to go see Fernanda in her house.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of different for me right away. I'm entering into somebody else's. It's not like a studio. It's not out of doors where it's neutral territory.
Mhm.
This is somebody's house, and that's kind of intimidating for me
Mhm.
a little bit.
Mm.
It was. It's not so much anymore, but it was then. And then I remember you had 1,000 questions. And, and I'm
I had to
thinking,
throw those out the window.
and then, well, I mean, no, we started with them, but like I learned right away that like it seems in all these interviews, not just hers, but there's a story that people want to tell,
Mm.
and so it almost the questions almost you just have to spark that,
Mhm.
just get them like that fire. You just get it started and let them go, and that's where the best interviews came,
Mm.
just by letting them speak.
Mhm.
And rather than having an agenda of certain questions you want them to answer,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that
Yeah.
aspect of it, because I could tell for the majority of people wanted to tell
Mhm.
their story.
Mhm.
But that first one with Fernanda, I think it was like I went back at the footage and we talked for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
How am I going to edit that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's so from an editor filmmaker point of view, it's really challenging because there's no I have no idea what the topics are going
script.
to be. There's no script.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
completely, where do I break the
Yeah.
edits up? And so we had to that was a bit, and so we tightened our end of it up a bit and just asked less questions,
Mhm.
and kind
Mhm.
of divided it up into categories when we did the
Yeah.
other interviews, and that was better for me as a filmmaker.
And it's interesting because the actual course modules were very scripted to begin
Mhm.
with exactly what we wanted in it
Mhm.
and the outcomes we wanted at the end. And over time, we kind of went unscripted is the way we need to go because the story's never been told.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then doing more and more interviews, I don't know why, but I felt I was surprised at how well spoken
Mm.
people are and how deep they are. Like some really deep thinkers,
Mhm.
and
To me, you have been really fundamental in my education around understanding credentials. And we talk a lot about how the elders that we get to interact with have their own masters and PhDs, and they don't have the Western certificate to say that, but we have had the opportunity to sit with incredibly brilliant human beings that don't fall into our Western ways of having these credentials, but hold such a deep and important wealth of knowledge to be able to share. Yeah.
Often don't have the confidence to share it either.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so, like putting my mother behind the camera
yeah,
with Shane doing his magic, the more unscripted it was, the more the real vital knowledge came out.
Hmm.
So
yeah,
that you lay the, I don't know, you prepare the space in a way
Hmm.
where the elders are able to just free their minds and their hearts to speak their minds.
And there's a knack to that too, because not like people are generally uncomfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yes, it's true.
They're not.
Can confirm.
Yeah. So, so for me as a filmmaker, it's really, I mean, it's a skill to try to get somebody to relax and
Mm-hmm.
just to pretend there is no camera there.
Well, it's funny because I was initially hired for one section for one semester to build this course,
Mm-hmm.
and laugh out loud for that. But when we realized that was not going to be a possibility, I continually had to confront the question, well, when's the course going to be done? When's it going to be done and ready? And my rehearsed response became, we're moving at the speed of trust, and we can't put a timeline on that.
Oh, beautiful.
And that is true for the development of the entirety of the course, but it's true for every interview we had to move into, is we had to move at the speed of trust for the interviews. And sometimes trust took a really long time to establish or wasn't established at all. And the interviews we weren't able to access that flow. And
Right.
sometimes we were able to do it in a way, and it was over time and practice and with community partners to say, here's how to develop that trust.
What's very interesting about it too is that you two now have become members of this community. And my family, our community, know you guys when they see you. And that's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
The ongoing story as well.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, you know. Like I feel like even after this is all done, I've met so many people and I've, you know, gotten so many friends out of it, you know, and I feel so much more comfortable. I have such, I think, a higher level of respect,
And
all in all.
that's reciprocal.
There you go. And I think that's probably ultimately what you want the viewers to have is respect. Right?
I love that, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, you know, how do you feel changed from this experience? And I think that, like, what a beautiful way to kind of articulate that. On our drive over, I was asking Shane a few questions around, like, what were some of his, like, you know, most impactful interviews, most challenging interviews, things like that. And I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to that.
Well, just some of the people that we've interviewed, like probably was their first interview ever on camera, and so, and it took a little more prompting, but then they get into it, and then, okay, you have to tell me her name again.
April Wallen, I think, in
Where?
Port Alberni.
Port Alberni, like we're sitting on her couch, she's sprawled out on the couch like this, and I'm like, okay, how do I adjust that? Okay, she's sprawled out, she's looking comfortable, but then she's moving, and then she's explaining this game.
Lahal, we got to learn how to play
okay,
Lahal.
cool.
Yeah, so then she had to go over there, and I feel like no sense of like there's a camera on you right here, and you have to go. And it was just really funny, and it's just how honest she was. I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, it was challenging at the time. I'm like, how I can't work.
Well,
with
we're
this.
stuck in our colonial brains, you know,
Yeah.
like it's got to be this certain way. And as soon as it leaves that certain way, we're like, you know, how do we adapt and adjust? And you and I have continually, I would say every day I've stepped into this project, I've had to confront the colonial structures that I operate within and see where those limit me and see how I can break around those, and also see, you know, where sometimes it serves me to be able to braid that into what we're doing. But a lot of times I have to say, hey, just because this now feels uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong, and we can figure it out.
One of the most important times for me was when we did the footage of the blessing of the reconciliation monument by Stan. And you know, like we're filming a sacred ceremony, a sacred blessing. And it was really uneasy for many of our community who are a part of it. But then, you know, we talked about it and we're like, so many of our people no longer know how to do this. We need to catch this. We need to capture it to be able to teach our people some of these ways that are so important. And so now we have this footage that isn't just for North Island College, but also for our communities, that is going to be just so vital. And so it made me uneasy, but I know just how important it was.
Well, that particular day was probably the most uncomfortable that I've been filming at all, because it's not just filming an interview. Here I am a guy with a camera that's not part of the community coming in, doing a very sacred thing, and I have to kind of sneak around and use my gimbal and put a camera in people's faces because that's what I was asked to do. But it wasn't very comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I felt awkward the whole time. I was like, oh, I'm intruding. What are these people thinking of me? You know. But at the same time, I do know it's important to catch stuff like that, and so I try to make myself as invisible as possible while running around. You know,
And what comes to mind for me when you talk about that is are the, how do I want to word this? The power dynamics within every space that we've entered into. Like, I am an academic, I'm a non-Indigenous academic coming into different spaces, asking different questions. And that holds a really different power dynamic that we've had to be so careful and mindful of throughout this process, and recognizing where and how that power dynamic shows up in ways that we don't expect, and needing to set that aside and put that at the door. And it's something I think that as all staff and faculty, we sometimes are unaware that we hold, or that we are carrying with us, is this power dynamic that might be making others uncomfortable. That's just inherent in the legacy of academics and of filmmaking and of capturing this information and this traditionally extractive process, and knowing that we needed to really rewrite the script on this being community led, and what does community led actually mean. Being invited to be there, but still being aware of how to minimize yourself within that space to be as respectful as possible.
But it was, there's a reason why the three of us have been put in that room, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, the universe seems to have a rhyme and reason to that. But when we were building the Kwagu'ł unit, and we had met with elders and community members about what they wanted to see in it, and then you took it away and you ran with it, and started, and we had already kind of scripted it, and then you wrote all this stuff. It was beautiful and insightful and heartfelt. And then I got into the course, and I started adding my flavor and my voice to it. And then you and I had a conversation, and you said, you know what, Sarah, you need to write this, not me. And so you took this academic stance of, I'm in this job, I'm in this position, and I need to do this. And you kind of went, wait now, whose story is it to tell? And you had the humility to step back and give me the confidence, because we don't have it ultimately, to be able to say the words through my voice.
That actually is really, really a lot to sit with and to think about, because I think about the Kwagu'ł module, and I think of, so for example, the Hupetchesit module or the Sashat module is almost exclusively videos, and there's a lot more videos than there is written text, and it's for that exact reason. I knew that I couldn't be the one to write or to describe what was taking place. It had to be told through community members. So each of the modules has such a different flavor, and that flavor is really accurately reflective of the working relationship with the nation. So with Comox, there's a lot more text, because I was working with community members to figure out what that text was and how it would be translated and sit in a way that was authentic to the nation. But in other nations, there wasn't the capacity to do that. So we had, like with Hupetchesit, we had 2 days to go in, and we did 8 hours of videos each days. And then we had to sit with 16 hours of footage and say, how do we bring this down into a 1 to 2 hour module? Ultimately, we can't, and we didn't. And there's a lot more video in there than anticipated, but that was the only way to keep it authentic to the voices of the nation.
And there's so much more. It's a blossoming, really. So like out of the Kwagu'ł unit, when we started and it was just by chance, we stopped by Stan's and realized he was building the monument. And like now we have this tons of footage that could actually be used to be able to build more curriculum, more units, etc. And we've been talking to Stan about using that and drawing on it to build curriculum for the schools, for the local, and those schools could not just be limited to Port Hardy, but it could go across Canada, and it would be valuable. And like, I think we just don't even know what treasure trove we're actually sitting on.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think that my hope in terms of when we talk about how we want to see this grow and change is that anybody who goes through the modules we've created is able to say, hey, that connects directly to what I'm doing over here.
And we could do this with
And
it
we could do this with it. And
for
then,
the communities.
and
right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
then how do I get in touch with that person? How do we run with that? And that is that when I talk about folks, my hope for folks to uncover the questions they need to start asking and pursuing those answers,
Mhm.
that's that flavor of what's going to be exactly relevant to not just what you do in your career, but how you are a resident of this community on the North Island.
Mhm. I was working in the district years ago when the curriculum for the residential schools came out. And I took the training to be able to deliver the residential school curriculum in school districts. And so that has that curriculum evolved or changed? Who's teaching it? Is it locally relevant? Is it being told? So it's a pan-Indigenous curriculum to tell the story of residential schools. And our belief was that the story needs to be told by my great-grandson's grandmother who was there, not somebody from the other side of Canada. That's when it hits you in the stomach.
Yeah.
And that's when you can become actively involved in reconciliation. When you hear the story of the people of this land and what happened to them.
So I think about what you said earlier about our ask of community members is a bit of their time to sit with and to move through the knowledge being shared. And I think what I'd like to add to that is a bit of their time and to come with it with the willingness to feel through it and to be impacted by it, and to engage with the emotions that kind of come up with this content that we sit with. And I think what's not on the camera or in the course are so many of the drives that Shane and I took on our way back home from these conversations, processing and sitting with the emotions. And I think about like an example of one that I'll never forget was we talked about April and our interview with April. I asked April the question, what do you hope to see change from the creation of this course? And her response was that people don't cross the road when they see an Indigenous person walking down the street. And that evoked so much emotion that it profoundly kind of shifted just where we are in our communities and the work that needs to be done. And it's through feeling heartbroken through that process that I can allow myself and my experience to change, and I can allow that to ripple out into every interaction I have.
It's there's a song, a stone dropped in the water, it ripples on forever. So that's what this is. Hopefully it ripples on forever and morphs and changes, and we don't let the fire go out.
And I think that's our work moving forward. How do we not let this fire go out? And I'm excited to see how we grow from here.
Absolutely.